I started realizing that I was more people-oriented in my approach towards my work. And I found that people were able to connect to me quite well. I did not realize this gift of mine until I reached the fifth or the sixth job.
You are listening to the Random Genius Media podcast.
Okay, so our guest today is a very senior decorated professor with Wellinger Institute, though it didn't start out that way. He actually began as a design engineer and worked at Tata, followed by Grindwell Norton, before deciding to take the plunge and become a full-time professor and corporate trainer. Please say hi to my professor, Sir Venkat Iyer.
Absolutely, very correct what you've spoken about me. A little more additional probably I could give you, and it's about me being also in the stock market. I'm also a corporate. I do a corporate, investment for a lot of people, and over and above that, I write books. I'm involved in a lot of media stuff, all related to self-growth and also to self-development.
Excellent.
You are listening to the Random Genius Media podcast.
So how did an engineer decide to start teaching in a management college and become a corporate trainer, apart from being in the stock market and the various other things that you do?
It all started when I took up my first job as a production engineer in a Tata company. I started realizing that I was more people-oriented in my approach towards my work. And I found that people were able to connect to me quite well. I did not realize this gift of mine until I reached the fifth or the sixth job. And then I realized that I could do better when I could be on my own. But let me confess one thing. At that point of time, I did not know that there's a thing called a training. So when I quit my job, it took some time for me to do some soul searching, and finally I landed up becoming a trainer. That was way back in 1994-95. That's how the journey started. It's going very well, and more milestones to capture, thanks to lovely opportunities available along the way.
You are listening to the Random Genius Media podcast.
I know you keep telling me again and again, take the plunge. But when is the right time? All of us here are, at different phases or stages in our career, right? And we all harbor this dream of being entrepreneurs, of starting our own businesses. Some of us have tried it before, like yours truly, tried to run his business, but then for one reason or the other, maybe it hasn't been financially viable, right? So there's always this dichotomy of wanting to follow your passion, follow your dream, but then the commercials don't add up. So how do you make that work?
If I give you my story, I was down the dumps as far as finance was concerned, to be very honest. I just came out of my last job, which was an MNC, and it was about 6 months after I got married, by the way. Fortunately, I have a very supportive family, number one. Number two, I had decided that I would not like to work under anyone for my own reasons. But I did not know what to do because I don't come from a business background, and neither do I come from a background which is wealthy in terms of money. And as I proceeded, I decided it's like a person who's getting thrown into a 10 feet water without knowing swimming. I was actually thrown into the sea, in the water. And then I realized that I had to do something, and I did something day after day. I started working towards what I felt was my competencies. I was very fortunate to meet some very lovely people who appeared to be my critics, but actually they are the ones who taught me my own skills, what I have with me. My latent skills were brought out by them. And as a consequence, as time progressed, I noticed that this is something which I could do, connecting people together and influencing them to make changes in their lives. So if you ask me this question, when is the right time to jump into it, I would say this is the right time. No other time. Because if you jump into something right now, that's the only way to do it. Otherwise, it keeps postponing. We start intellectualizing, and that's something which we can try to avoid by simply jumping into it. What do you lose? You lose nothing, except your point of view. I feel that it's worth it.
That's great. We have an in-house audience that's supposed to interact with us, but they're not. They seem to be... A round of applause, guys. So that's really creditable when you're like newly married and, you have new responsibilities that you've taken on. And then you take on the additional responsibility of going out on your own having worked in an MNC myself, I know all the luxuries that come with it.
Precisely.
Most importantly, the medical that gets covered
yeah.
by your company, which then you have to fend for yourself.
You are listening to the Random Genius Media Podcast.
Interaction with you, you've always come across as this very large-hearted person and willing to share your advice with people. Does that make you more vulnerable around your students and other people? Do you feel that, or it's just something that's natural to you and that comes natural to you?
When you say vulnerable, as in, I have never found this to be an impediment. I found that my best comes out when I'm free flowing, and so far I've never had any such adverse, feedback or reactions from anybody for that matter. And touch wood, I think people seem to be accepting me for whoever I am. Looks like, I think so. So it's going on well so far.
Excellent. So another thing I want to touch upon is you're very passionate about the stock market.
Yeah.
And I think you teach at the stock market
I
as
do,
well,
I do.
right?
Yeah.
You train people. So again, for people who are new to the stock market completely, right? What are the top 2 or 3 reasons to get into the stock market, according to you?
I have this conviction, looking at my own experience, that when you're working, whether you're doing your own business or you're working in a company, you get into a direct or an indirect obligation under some human being, and that actually creates a lot of errant behavior in people, which actually affects many things about them. That's used to happen to me. Now, this is the only place, according to my reading, where you can make money without getting obliged to anybody, using your own intelligence, your own hard work, and it's very exciting. Number one. Number two is, I strongly recommend that every common person, the so-called common man, should enter into stock market just to make himself financially having one more level of income. It's very important for people. I've come across a lot of ladies, housewives, who are actually coming from well-to-do backgrounds, but they would not like to take money from their husbands for their day-to-day things. And they have come along and asked me, Venkat, we would like to make some money in the market. We don't know what is to be done. So I've trained them. By the way, in the stock market, I'm not a stock consultant. I'm basically applying the principles of behavioral economics, on which I've done a lot of study. And on the basis of that, with the human emotions which people have, and the twins of greed and fear, these are the 2 things which actually rule the market when you're an investor. So I guide people depending upon each one's personality and their propensity to take up a risk, and accordingly I take them along. I ensure that people are never put into any type of a unsure or a risky venture which they don't want to take up. So I'm very safe with them, and that's working so far. So it's going on.
Great. So, what is the minimum, or what would be the recommended amount that you would say somebody should start with in the stock market?
It can be as low as 500 rupees per month. There's this popular thing called SIP, systematic investment plan, which every month people can put into that. And what one has to do is to just build it up patiently, wait for the thing to grow, and as it grows, without much of ado, allow the thing to grow for at least 3 to 5 years, and that really makes them feel good about the profits that they're earning. And if you choose a proper stock with a bit of analysis, there are many good stocks. One can definitely feel comfortable weighing that, getting that money. It's very easy. So it's not that people have the wrong notion that to enter the stock market you need to have big money. It's not so. Even a small amount is okay. So every human being worth his salt can actually get into the stock market. As a matter of fact, there's a very beautiful case I can give you. I got my florist, the person from whom I buy flowers. He's a South Indian chap, having a shop in Matugani post office. And his son came to me, I want to get into stock market, he said. And he handed over to me 1,000 rupees. I said, look, keep that 500 with you, put the remaining 500 in the bank, and then start. And today this boy it's about 2 years down the line. He is somewhere in the region of, I think, some 4,000 or 5,000 rupees is accumulated just by the stocks.
Wow.
And he's feeling good about it.
Excellent.
So it can be just about anybody.
Excellent.
That's what I would...
You are listening to the Random Genius Media Podcast.
So let's shift gears. So moving from the stock market back to sort of Velinka, right? You've told me that you started, you were pretty much one of the founding members of at least the MBA faculty back, I think, 20 years, if I'm
Yeah, I
not
started my
mistaken.
career here in 1999, around June, July, with the diploma course, which is run in the next building in Udar College. And then after that, I was inducted to this building thanks to the feedback I got. And this building was just come up. It was in 2000. The new building had come up here, and we had all the courses which are rolling out one after the other. So I got involved in practically every course in terms of teaching, in terms of creating course content, stuff like that. And as far as distance learning program is concerned, DLP, wherein I'm meeting all of you all. In this department, I've been around for the last ever since it started. It was more than about 15, 16 years are over. And it used to be called as correspondence course. Then it became a distance learning. Now it's a distance learning hybrid. So I've seen the metamorphosis of this particular department from what it used to be till what it is today, and still more miles to go. So it's been a very colorful journey, definitely. And what's more exciting is that I'm getting I seem to be I'm in touch with people whom I influence in terms of their own career growths and also their own growth in various aspects of life. I'm very fortunate to come across a very wide cross section of people of different age groups. The oldest student I had in the distance learning, you won't believe it, it was 77 years old gentleman from ex-serviceman. And when I asked him, how come you're doing this? He said, my grandson has started a business, I want to help him out. That's how we came. So it's a very great journey, no doubt.
Awesome. I thought I was the oldest, but now there's a 77-year-old gentleman who's done his MBA. So that's great. Be honest with us, some of the naughty ones, right? Students that you've had, give us some understanding of some of the pranks they've pulled on you.
Pranks, hardly. Sheldon, what really happens with me is, I'm with y'all all the time, as you know. And since I'm with y'all, I look at y'all as one, I look at myself as one among you. So I hardly come across a thing that's seen as a prank by me. We have fun. I go out with students for a drink or something. We also have a lot of interactions. Rarely, I don't think, till date, I don't think anybody has, at least I have not felt any prank being played on me. It's been pretty good. We've had a lot of fun. We've got a lot of leg pulling. Two-way leg pulling has really happened and it's been fantastic, no doubt about it. What I seem to be doing, which I feel I do, is I just disarm myself. And then I flow with the class.
Yeah.
I think this helped me in a big way. I think so.
Okay.
Give
us an example of an assignment that you've done. Like, I think you had talked about sending students to a far-off place on a limited budget and them actually managing to crack it and be successful at it. Talk us through.
See, the subject which I've been teaching is Principles of Management, in which we talk about optimum utilization of resources. And whenever we talk about management, we talk about how to manage resources when you are having less of it. And as you'll agree, people who have more money, they save less and they seem to be spending it wantonly, as compared to people whom I've seen who have got limited cash and they know how to spend it. So I wanted to show them as an experience that why don't you try this out? And I send them to a place outside Bombay for an overnight stay and told them that you have to take 1,000 rupees only with you, each of you. And no cheating, no credit cards, no nothing. Leave Bombay with 1,000 and come back and show me some extra cash in your pocket despite the one overnight stay. And they actually did it. And you will not believe it, the richest kid was the one who saved and the parents were very happy with that. It is something which is very exciting. And then I think that's one of the best management lessons one can learn on the job. You and I can do it every day, in fact. It's very easy for us to do. I do practice it sometimes when I find that I'm overspending. I put a break and I tell myself that today I'm going to be running my day only with X amount of rupees. And I find myself even
keeping to the budget.
Keeping not only the budget, I save something extra. It's basically getting conscious about the resources that you have. Very simple.
Now talk us through a day in the life of Professor Venkat Iyer.
Fine.
Which starts, I think, at 4 in the morning?
5:30.
5:30.
So I get up at 5:30 as usual. It's a normal thing. My bio clock opens my eyes. I'm up. As soon as I'm up, the first thing I do, brush my teeth. I put my suprabhadam. I make a very good, South Indian coffee, kapi as we call it. And sipping coffee, I listen to suprabhadam. I go into a meditative mood. Around about 6:15 or something, I go for my long walk. And after the walk, I come back and then I'm back to I finish my morning chores, my bath and puja and all that. And I sit at my table by 8:30, 8:45, 9, I'm at the table. If I don't have a lecture, if I have a lecture, then I'm out here. And then the table, as I sit at the table, I do my work. I got multiple things to be done. So one is the stock market. I get ready for the stock market. And as it's going on, I also attend to my mail. I also reply to certain messages, and some people keep calling me. Some students call me for asking some questions or something. So the whole day progresses. Around 11:30, 12 o'clock, I take a short break, go for a cup of tea or maybe some green tea, something like that. I come back again. It continues till 1:30. A very light lunch, and I do take a 30-minute of a snooze in the afternoon. I take a siesta. It refreshes me. And when I get up after that, I'm at the closing of the market. I finish the market rituals, and then again I go for a walk in the evening. I meet some friends. At night I have an early dinner, a very light dinner. I go to bed by about say 11, 11:30. I watch a movie or something, and I could be visiting my brother or some relative. We'll be meeting for some dinner, maybe a drink or something. Occasionally it happens. It keeps going. As a matter of fact, Sheldon, I'm looking for the 8th day in the week.
Aren't we all?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I think last one is just to get a sense of family life, right?
Yeah.
How do you prioritize your family life in the middle of your busy schedule?
Actually, you'll be surprised, since I work from home, I have a lot of family time. And the other times when I'm not there, the family is also busy with their own things. So it balances out very well. So each of us don't miss the other. So we have a beautifully well crafted out lifestyle. And that's really working out very well with us.
Yeah.
And we also ensure that all the social commitments in the family are all fulfilled. Attend weddings, attend, different types of functions and, get-togethers. We make it a point to do that.
Correct.
So it's pretty
So
balanced.
there's work in life and life in work.
Both ways.
and
Absolutely,
goes
you can say so.
mixed with each
Safely
other.
you can say so, because that's fortunately just because I work from home, this is happening. Not that I'm working from home, so I give away my work time into the family, but we have structured timings which works very well.
True.
And the best part of it is, both of us share at the home chores. If she's not there, I cook, and if she is there, both ways we share, so we have no issues on that, fortunately.
You are listening to the Random Genius Media Podcast.
Excellent. So now I'm going to throw it open to the audience that have been very quiet and attentive. So does anyone have a question for Professor Iyer before?
I do have a question.
Yes.
As I read in a book, Ankur Warikoo had written
Yeah.
that why do we live with one identity? Like somebody says, मैंने तो ग्रेजुएशन किया उसके बाद जॉब किया बस यहाँ पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन किया whatever. But as I heard your life story, so it's like you did engineering, then you came into teaching and you are into stock market. So I also have changed 2 to 3 fields. So people generally ask me a question like, एक चीज क्यों नहीं किया? But I always think that why with one identity? Before reading that book only, I thought we can experience 2 to 3 things, then only we can completely know which is best for us.
True.
So what are your words on that?
I'm quite impressed with the fact that you're actually doing that, and if each of the activity which is different from the other is gladdening you, adding value to you, making you contribute to the world around, I think you should go ahead and do it. See, ultimately, if you look at what I'm doing today, every activity I'm doing, whether it's the stock market or teaching or training or what, it's giving out to the world. So if that gift is given to you by the Almighty and you're actually encashing on that, I think nobody should have any problem on that.
Yeah, there was a thought like...
And Ankur Warikoo is really pretty good. He's bang on when he says that.
He had written that we have one life.
Yeah.
So why should we live with one identity?
Absolutely.
We should have more identities.
Yeah. So that's good. Very
Awesome.
good.
You've actually cleared up a big
Yes.
confusion in my head as well, because I call my company Random Genius. I'm very random. I do a lot of random things, and I'm still to find something that I can focus all my energies on. But I kind of echo her sentiment. I mean, a lot of people ask me, why can't you just stick with one thing? Why do you have to poke your fingers into so many different things? But if it's making you happy, why not?
Actually,
Right?
I'd like to add something to what both of you said. See, there's a thing called he talked about randomness. Randomness is something which is not bad. Randomness simply tells you that you're flowing. You're flowing in the direction of some spiritual force. I put it that way. I've been like that, to be very honest, Sheldon. Because when I ventured out of my working life, after being in a very good MNC, came out, the whole world was confused, including my newlywed right? And then said they were not angry, they were confused. What the hell are you doing? You had a good office, etc. So I felt that this was my inner call. I think the randomness which Sheldon talks about is something that, like an inner call. This inner call, very few of us got the guts to respond to that. I feel so. And as you rightly said, we are multi-talented, all of us. Everyone out here is multi-talented, but we stick on to one talent per force. I repeat, per force, because society wants us to be having one identity. Now, I would suggest, after this lovely interaction with both these people, that everyone out here should actually look for the other identities which they have in them, which is what I call innate talents. If you have an innate talent, let's say you sing or you're writing or you're dancing or you're doing something different, make it into something. Have fun, get into randomness, like what Sheldon says. I would promote that. In fact, it's a great thing to happen. And if I could add this, my observation again, it's not about, I'm not making a comment. I've seen people like this are very open in their approach towards the world. When you're random, that's a word. We're very open to the world and we accept anything that's happening around us. We're not prejudiced कि ये सही है गलत है. And we feel a lot for the world. Okay? Which may be misunderstood by certain people in a different way, but that's okay.
You are listening to the Random Genius Media Podcast.